Well, I hope you all enjoyed that one. A very historic place, eh? As we leave the Angel behind, you can carry straight along that way, but I've saved that for a revisit that I'm going to do, which takes us right along the Thames pathway. So we go right from Maggie Blake's Calls by Tower Bridge, and instead of going down Shad Thames we go right along the riverfront in amongst a lot more of the old warehouses and things like that. And on our way we shall come across a pub with famous connections to Sir Paul McCartney. But the way I've chosen, which this part is a refilm because I did get quite lost, if I'm honest with you. The way I've chosen to show you, we're going to be going down this way, down Cathay Street, as we walk past the ruins of King Edward III's manor house. Love pieces of history like that. And it was on its own little island in medieval times, so the Thames came right in this way. A lot of land's been reclaimed from the Thames over the years, particularly in the Industrial Revolution and the Victorian era. This street, which is Bermondsey Wall East, was originally all Rotherhithe Street, and it was massively longer than it is now, and it's still London's longest street. But it was lined really from medieval times until the 18th and 19th century with medieval timber framed buildings, warehouses and wharves. And as the Industrial Revolution kicked on, they just couldn't cope. A lot of them had fallen into dilapidation, and our forebears were no great respecters of history like we are if it got in their way. I mean, the original Angel ran alongside the moat of King Edward's manor, and it ran along this way rather than where it is now, running along that way. And we are now walking through a king's palace, or manor rather. Would have been like a little palace, particularly to the locals. Got modern houses in front of us, so I'll turn us this way. It was moated, you see, so well protected. We discussed a lot of the history of the Angel, didn't we? Originally set up by Bermondsey Priory, then became the Angel, or the famous Angel as Samuel Pepys called it. Up until 1837 you had very much a medieval building, but they say that they used remnants of a 17th century building in the building of this one in 1837, and that was quite common. If they took old buildings down and we're going to replace them, let's say like they took the old Angel down and we're going to replace it with the new one, they would often use timbers and things like that from the old building. But instead of going down towards Rotherhithe Street or Bermondsey Wall East, which takes you right onto Rotherhithe Street, we're going to go this way. This was a happy accident. Thank you to Google Maps that got me entirely lost. So pretty much most of the journey was fine. It was just this leg. It took me down all weird side streets and then out onto Jamaica Road, and then I had to walk back down Jamaica Road and start back on myself for that one after getting my bearings. But I did discover on the way St James Church at Bermondsey, the Norwegian church, the Georgian, which with my poor eyesight and from the opposite side of the road I mistook for the old Justice. They look similar because they're sort of mock Tudor-esque type buildings, both of them. Sorry about that, a bit dark there for a moment, weren't we? Southwark Park we're looking right out onto here. Now, as I say, this part is a refilm, and I feel very lucky this morning with our endgame location, really, where we're heading to. Our main port of call for today is, of course, and it is on Rotherhithe Street, is the Mayflower pub and the Church of St Mary at Rotherhithe, which also has strong Mayflower connections. An absolutely fascinating little churchyard. There's a churchyard video for that. Not a great many tombstones or gravestones with legible inscriptions on, but 3 of them in particular are very interesting. No, I think it may be 4, including Captain Thomas Stone, and I was very taken with his one. I like A, the old colloquial spelling on it, and B, the florid nature of the inscription. I'll say one thing for our forebears, they knew how to string a sentence together. No, in it bruv from them. Our location that we're going to be covering at another time, but it's one of the ones I discovered, is coming up soon. It's the Norwegian Church of Rotherhithe. Now, in the 17th and 18th century, there were a lot of this is King's Stairs Gardens. There were a lot of Norwegian seamen staying in the area because of obviously the docks and the warehouses and wharves. And later on, in the later 17th and 18th centuries, quite a few Norwegian sea captains retired and settled in this area. There were quite a lot of Norwegic and Norwegian based churches, chapels, places of worship. St Olav's, what we're going to see in a minute, we'll see glimpses of in a minute, being one of them. The Church of the Holy Trinity at Bermondsey, the Church of St James at Bermondsey, and the Church of St Olav's. They are going to be on church service days, so once I've finished round 1 and round 2 of the Bermondsey tours, Bermondsey to Rotherhithe tours, I'll set about covering those eventually, with some other content interspersed between. So if you keep visiting the same area, it gets a bit draggy for me, obviously. Hopefully not for yous, but... And here it is. The Church of St Olav's, the Norwegian church. Google Maps led me to here, to King's Stairs Gardens. I gave up on Google Maps, went on just like a regular map, managed to find the church and a route going to the church. Now I've done both routes, the Rotherhithe Street way, which I walked back on to refilm, and this route, and by far I enjoyed, for St Mary's and the Mayflower, I enjoyed this route more for the arrival aspect as we come into the parish, which was originally Rotherhithe Village. It was a small country village based by the Thames. And as I say, I felt very lucky this morning because it's church maintenance day. The grass is being cut, they're checking the electrical things and stuff inside, and also checking the church summoning or sanctus bell, you know, when they ring to notify people that the mass is going to begin or to come to church. That was being tested, so you get to hear that. So we get a full coverage of the church, outside and in, there's some fascinating objects in there. All I can say for you is look out for the wooden ship that we see as we go by in there. That is a replica of the Mayflower. Also, and I had to correct myself at the end of the video, there is a table and 2 chairs which is made from English oak from HMS Temeraire of Trafalgar fame. Now, Mayflower Street, which gives us our first hint. Of course, I've already told you where we're going to. See, it's good to try and cover these types of on-foot tours early if you can, because obviously later in the day there's going to be lots of people around. And this is St Marychurch Street we're on now, looking over at the Norwegian church there through the trees, spire. I've seen some pictures of it online and it does look a lovely church with a nice piece of stained glass at the altar, so it will be covered if I get consent, because some churches, I've only ever come across one no for filming and photographing, and you have to respect that. Some people are not comfortable with that in their place of worship, so I say they will be covered, hopefully, fingers crossed. Now, I love this approach, and it was a happy accident because we get to go past some historical gems on the way that hark back to it when it was a small little parish that at one point only needed a very small parish fire engine, and more darkly and sinisterly at another point had to have a watch house built because of body snatchers. Its churchyard is said to be, a part of it, London's most haunted or spooky children's playground. They put a children's playground in part of the churchyard in more recent times, and it is said to have pissed off ghosts, if you believe in that, kicked up some kind of energy or something, because since then ghosts are said to have been seen wandering the churchyard, angrily looking down at the ground where the children's playground area is, where their graves would have been, or still are, but tombstones, a lot of them get taken away. Modern churchyards, a lot of them are managed by the local councils, so what they tend to do is they stack the tombstones or gravestones up against the walls. It makes it easier for mowing and trimming and that kind of thing. Hope Sufferance Wharf, a mixture of old and new buildings, but we're coming up to our first historic one, which is here. St Mary's Rotherhithe engine house, 1821. The fire engine house. This building, dated 1821, forms a pair with the watch house. It once housed a single fire engine that served Rotherhithe Village. And the next one, which we go past in a sec, this is Hope Sufferance Wharf. This building here, Hope Sufferance Wharf. These are the early 19th century former warehouses and a granary. A sufferance wharf was a licensed private wharf where goods could be stored until the duty on them was paid. This is its little extension to its churchyard, 1821, which we do cover in the churchyard tour, so that's all covered. But we walk past next this one here, which is St Mary's Rotherhithe Watch House, and I'll zoom in on the plaque so I don't film anyone. Watch house. In the 19th century, a watchman would have been stationed here to guard against body snatchers. They stole corpses from the adjoining former burial ground for medical research at Guy's Hospital. It's a coffee shop now, and very, very nice as well. This is the old charity school, out of the sun. St Mary's Rotherhithe. Free school founded by Peter Hill and Robert Bell. Esquires, 1613. The charity school was instituted in 1742, removed here in 1797, supported by voluntary contributions, and there you see the Blue Coat boys and girls, the charity boys and girls. And this was the original Rotherhithe village. And you will join me earlier in the day for a tour of this lovely church, so that will be our next video. So join me for that one. And before we go into the church, a couple of historic and then and now type images. This one from 1891, looking straight down St Marychurch Street. Over on the right you've got the charity school, the Blue Coat boys and girls, and the watch house right next to it, which was once used for guarding against body snatchers. Hasn't been converted, of course, to a coffee shop by this time. And if you look over to the extreme left, you can just see the edge of Hope Sufferance Wolf, and who is the mysterious gentleman standing in the churchyard gate by the tree. If you look beyond the charity school, you can see that the old houses that were still there at this time, some of them going back to the 17th century. And sadly, by the 1960s, those houses were gone, either swept away by the war or slum clearances, and you can see they've been replaced with 1950s council flats. But in this 1961 image, taken 70 years after the one we've just seen, the charity school is still there, the watch house next to it is still there, and over towards the right we can see the old parish fire engine house, which was still of its full length. Now when we look at that, it's been cut down a bit, just leaving its frontage, and it still has its doorway and everything there. And if you look through the fence of the churchyard, which is of course by this point not St Mary's Church Gardens, you can just make out a couple of tombstones which obviously hadn't been moved at this point. And really pretty much the same view, but in 2024, the photo I took myself. I hope you all found this little journey interesting, and now we should be going into the church, so that will be a separate video. Join me for that. And as I said, keep an eye out for the model of the Mayflower and the pieces made from the wood of HMS Temeraire. Hope you're all going to enjoy, and join me for the next video, which is the Church of St Mary's at Rotherhithe.